Today we're back working on my Honda CB200T and we need to get this bike done. I have a couple of things on the table here that I want to show you how we're going to put on our bike. The first thing being the emblems on our tank. We finally got those. I modified them a little bit to match the paint on the tank and I think they came out pretty decent. Another thing we got is our side covers. We got those painted and we have our emblems that we need to install on those. So we're going to do that. And of course, check this out. Is that mayonnaise in there? So follow along and I'll show you how we're gonna do that whole process. So we should probably start with the easiest thing, and that is to install these emblems on these side covers. Now, I wasn't too happy with the paint on these side covers. It's kind of shiny, but it's kind of dull, honestly. And it all has to do with the paint that I used on the plastic. The tank, I used the same paint, the same color of paint on the tank as I did on this plastic. And honestly, it didn't adhere that well. And it's just, they look pretty good. They're shiny, but I think I could have done better. But for the sake of this project, I think we're gonna have to do with that. So I'm gonna have to install these emblems in this orientation right here. All it is, it just has two little tabs in the back, and these tabs are plastic, so you have to be kind of careful with this. The idea behind this is we could simply just use some construction adhesive and just kind of glue them to the side covers like this. And I think that looks kind of cool, actually. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. I hope y'all can see that. That looks nice. The reflection is pretty cool, even. Wow. Okay. So I'm happy again. Anyways, so the emblems come with these little washers. I hope y'all can see that. They're kind of like star-shaped little tabs that you kind of screw to the back where the little plastic tabs kind of come out. And the way you do that is you simply just put them in this orientation like that. I hope y'all can see that. And then you simply just start spinning them and they start to tighten on their own. You might have to push in a little bit, but you'll feel when they start to kind of catch and grab. If they don't, you might have to just press on the tabs or kind of flatten the washer a little bit, and then you'll feel it kind of go in. So there you go, that's all there is to it. Just kind of press it in like that. Hopefully y'all can see that. Just press it in and then you just turn it. And then you apply the next one on this side. Same thing, you just kind of press it in. Once it kind of goes all the way down, then you kind of just spin it a little bit to tighten it up, and it should tighten up. And it should tighten up pretty nice. You don't have to go too crazy on these. They won't fall off. All right, so that's all there is to it. We got one done, so let's move on to the next one. Again, it's pretty simple. This doesn't take that long. It's just a matter of putting these in. I kind of wanted to show you how I'm going about it because I wanted to tell you or let you know that these were actually in pretty bad shape. These emblems I had to restore and it took a while. With these, I really did take my time to restore them, and I had to kind of go in and they're easier to restore than these other Honda emblems that I'll show you here because they have raised edges. So that means you can kind of put some tape around here and use an X-Acto knife and cut all around it. And once you paint it, spray paint it, then you'll have a nice covering because of the letters, since they're more embossed, I guess you can say. So the paint doesn't get into those crevices, which is pretty cool because then when you go to unmask everything looks pretty cool. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. If you look at it in here, there's some chrome lines and then there's also black in the background. I had to be very careful, and it really did take me a long time to get these restored. If you go online, you can probably find these for about 50 bucks for the pair, but in very bad conditions. So either you can choose to kind of restore your own, or you can just do what I did with these, which I'll show you here in a second. But honestly, it just takes a little bit of time to kind of get yours restored. If the plastic is still there, if it's not missing any plastic where you have to kind of go back and glue parts or something, you know, you can still repair them. A big example of that is this side cover. This side cover was actually cracked, and as you can see, I went ahead and glued it back together. I used some really strong glue here. You can see the crack here, but if you turn it around, there is no crack. Just a little bit of Bondo, sanded it down, and got it looking pretty good. So this whole area was actually broken. As you can see right here from this crack, hopefully y'all can see that. This crack right here, this whole piece was off, so I had to glue it back. So yeah, it just takes a little bit of doing, but I mean, you can restore your own parts yourself. Notice on this one, there was a part on this one that was broken, I believe, as well. Or maybe not. No, I'm thinking of the wrong bike. So there you go, the side covers are complete, and that's one less thing to worry about. And honestly, I think they came out looking pretty good. I actually do have some reflection on there. I think they were kind of dull. I mean, they're not the shiniest, but yeah, I mean, they cleared out pretty well. So I'm happy with that. And I'm sure the next owner is gonna be real happy with that as well. So let's move on to the tank now before we install these really cool mufflers over here. All right, so here we have our gas tank, and then we also have our emblems. Now, these emblems, when I received them from online, they were about $20 online. I could either go with these that were brand new, or I can order a set of original CB200T emblems and restore those. And honestly, the ones that I found online to restore were really in really bad condition. So I decided to just go with some new ones. They came in a brushed aluminum look, or a brushed steel look, I guess you can say. And they did match the tank pretty good because of this little edge right there, but they just didn't look that classic, I guess you can say. So what I decided to do is I decided to paint the letters the same color as the stripe that goes around the tank. And I think it came out looking pretty nice. So notice how there's an area here for the original emblem. We're not gonna use that. It has 2 screw holes right here, but those screw holes don't match to our new emblem. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some construction adhesive to be able to glue our logos or our emblems to that general spot right there. But before I do that, I don't wanna leave these 2 holes just exposed like that. So I found these small screws. They're just, you know, like wood screws, I guess you can say. Hopefully y'all can see that. So I found those screws, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to put them into these holes. They don't go in, so that's good. The hole is actually smaller than the screw head, but they are kind of beveled. So, you know, they're silver or metal, you know, color. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint those black, but I do want to have the screw head actually, you know, looking like it actually has a screw in there. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to cut the head off of these little screws. And once I cut the head off, then I can glue those to just the emblem itself. I don't need the back part, obviously, because we can't screw it into the gas tank. So we're just gonna use the screw heads to be able to glue them onto our emblem. Obviously, we should paint them black first, and then we can glue the whole thing to the gas tank. So yeah, so let me work on cutting the screw heads first so that we can have 4 of these for both emblems. I need to kind of spray paint them black, and then we can come back, we can glue the entire thing with our construction adhesive. By the way I'm gonna do that is I'm going to use these screws like I mentioned earlier. Hopefully y'all can see those. But in order to cut the head, I was trying to figure out a way to do it with my grinder without making a mess and having a clean cut, without the screw head moving or damaging the screw head when I'm trying to cut them. So what I found is this little can opener here, or it's a bottle opener, and it has this little hole here, and my screw can actually go into this hole right there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna set it on a flat metal surface like that, and I'm just gonna come with my grinder and I'm just gonna grind this screw head off. Hopefully y'all can see that. I'm gonna grind this bottom of the screw, I'm gonna grind it off, but the head is going to be able to stay in this hole because there'll be pressure pressing down on the screw head. So at least that's the idea. Let me give it a shot. All right, so I have a level here, and what I'm doing is I'm placing my screw heads on that level because there's a magnetic strip on the bottom of that level. And what I'm gonna do that is just to hold the screws in place so that I can spray paint them. So let me look for some black paint. We're gonna let that dry so we can move over to the next step. All right, so we have our tank emblems here, and the emblems are made out of this weird material. It almost seems like aluminum, but maybe not. I don't know what type of material they are. It looks, I don't know, like if you were to mix plastic and aluminum together, I feel like that's what you would get. But anyways, as you can see, they're recessed. So basically they have kind of like a cavity in here, and then the outer edges of it are raised up. So that means we could add glue in here, and when you press it in, it'll kind of expand, but it won't go out to the edges, which is kind of good for our situation. But it is made out of metal, or that material, so you can bend it a little bit just to kind of get the curvature of the tank where we want it, which in our case, we want it right about there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this construction adhesive open. I'm just going to make a small cut. All right, so now we can see the construction adhesive coming out through there. Now this stuff, you can use silicone, or they sell some automotive products as well that could work, but I mean, I have had really good luck with this stuff. So, I mean, you can pretty much get away with using that. All right, so now we're going to load it into our silicone gun here. And yeah, I don't want a whole bunch of material to come out. And I have to have my tape ready as well, because once I glue it onto my tank, I need to put some tape so that it can stay in the location that I want. This stuff is actually pretty tacky, and this is very light. So what's probably going to happen, I'm gonna move the tank this way. All right, so hopefully y'all can see things better in this position right here. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just going to start adding some silicone here. I'm gonna leave the screws towards the end because the screws, I think, they don't need that much adhesive, and we can just glue them at the very end. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just start adding some of this construction adhesive, but I wanna stay away from the edges. I don't wanna add too much on the edges here. So I wanna add it in the middle, and then, Jesus. So what I wanna do is I wanna add it here to the middle, work my way down towards the middle. Stay away from these holes. I want to just add a small little bead of silicone here, and then work my way down towards the middle, just staying away from the edges. So let's see how that goes. If we get overflow from the edges, that's okay, because we can always clean that up and maybe touch it up with some black paint. But here we go. Let's give it a try. Keep in mind, this area here in the middle is pretty deep, so you do have to add quite a bit of adhesive. Okay, we got a little bit of just gonna clean that off a little bit. Continue adding in this middle section. Just keep in mind, when you press it in, it's going to kind of flow out to the sides. There we go. And I think we just need to add a little bit more in the middle. Now I want you to kind of see, hopefully y'all can see the level. Some of it is sticking up and some of it is not. So in the areas where it's not, we just need to add a little bit more. Okay, so that should be pretty good. Hopefully y'all can see that. That's more than enough adhesive. We don't need so much. All right, so the next thing we gotta do is we just gotta put it in there, right? Just kidding. But yeah, we just have to kind of set it where we want it. I'm going to find that area that I kind of want, kind of level it off. It's all by kind of just looking at it, but we need to find the bottom line and then stick with the front curve here and then just stick it on there. Nice. We have a little bit of overflow right there. That's okay. We can always go back and clean that up. But that looks pretty cool. If we need to touch it up a little bit, we can always do that at the end. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So let me get a few close-up shots and then we'll put the tape on it. Alright, so it's time to install the mufflers, but before we do that, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about these mufflers. Now, these mufflers were the cheapest that I could find online. For a while there, I had my eyes on some mufflers from Common Motor. They were about $160, but just recently they went up to like $230, which that was a substantial jump. So for a bike that we're trying to restore and sell, that was quite a bit, you know, it kind of adds up after a while. So I went ahead and bought these from eBay, believe it or not. And what's cool about eBay is that sometimes the seller has a make an offer button. These were from Taiwan, which sometimes, you know, they take a while, but that was not the case for these at all. It took about a week to get here. And they were advertised for like $169 or something like that, which was within my price range. But whenever there's a make an offer button, I always start off low. And that's exactly what I did. So I went ahead and offered the seller $120. And to my surprise, they took it. So I ended up getting these two for $120. And I'll be honest with you, the quality on these is not bad at all. I was actually surprised when I received them. Now, I'm not too sure about the internals or what's in here or how the baffling is in here. It looks, you know, pretty simple, but the outside chrome is actually, it looks pretty nice. For a bike that we're trying to flip, the chrome, I mean, might last us for a little bit until we can sell the bike. So I'm happy with that. I kind of tried them on the bike to see if maybe they fit. And they seem to kind of slip over pretty well. They don't come with any hardware, just the hardware for the brackets here, which I haven't even checked to see if they're going to fit on the brackets, original brackets, but they didn't come with any hardware here. So I just purchased some of these, you know, regular muffler clamps to see if we can get it working with that. Those are pretty inexpensive. They're about $5 each. So why not give it a try? So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try to see if the brackets, the size of the bracket fits on this muffler. But yeah, let me show you the comparison of the mufflers from stock to these aftermarket ones. All right, so as you can see, these mufflers have a flat side. These are the original ones. They have a flat side and they have two nuts here in the back that you can remove. And this is the bracket that your bike needs to be able to have the muffler installed on the bike. Now this bracket, I'll be honest with you, I don't have this bracket for the other side, but if you look at the bracket, I think I can make that. It's probably gonna take me some time, but I definitely think I can make this. It's just a piece of metal that's bent in a couple of ways, so with a couple of holes, so I'm pretty sure I can make one instead of ordering one. I could go online and maybe find this, but I have pieces of metal laying around. I'm sure I can figure it out. But as you can see, there's a flat portion here. Now, I did notice that some of the mufflers, like for example on Common Motor, their website, which Common Motor, by the way, is a great website. You guys should check it out. They have a lot of products on there. I've gotten so much stuff from them for these old Hondas. But yeah, I mean, they advertise their mufflers as you having to kind of flatten out a certain area. I'm not too sure what area it was, but you did kind of have to bang in some areas. So I don't know if I'm gonna have to do that with these mufflers, but let's give them a try. Let's see how they work. My first thing that I want to do is I want to see if the bracket actually fits on these. So let's try and put the bracket on here first. All right, so the bracket on the other bikes should fit like this. Oh man, that is close. That is actually super close, but not quite there. I hope y'all can see that, but the bracket just misses the holes. I mean, I think I can tap that in, honestly. Can I just press it in? Wow, that is, so actually I can just probably make this hole just a little bit bigger. Yeah, let me do that. All right, that was actually pretty simple. I just went ahead and used my step bit and I made the holes a little bit bigger. So let's see if now they fit. Yeah, there we go. So the bracket seems to fit, but now we have to find out if the bracket is gonna align and we're not gonna have any issues with interference. And of course we need to check to see if the alignment on the header is going to work as well. So let me bring you closer and see if it's gonna work. All right, so here we have the muffler and this is our original bracket. And actually I just realized that I put that backwards. Yeah, this is not supposed to be like that. All right, let me adjust that. It's supposed to go like that. And then we can put our nuts here. Okay, perfect. Now we can try putting it in its location. Whoa. Is that going to fit? Well, okay. I think the header is stuck a little bit, but oh, holy, that actually fits. What? Whoa, that bracket fits right in place. There we go. That's how it's supposed to go. I think the header was just hung up a little bit. Oh wait, I'm forgetting my foot peg. Yeah, so I think this hole right here is where for your foot peg, so it can go here for the passenger, and then that's supposed to kind of go in here. Whoa, that is crazy. Wow. So there's no bending, no anything. It's not interfering with anything. It's a straight shot to the header, and man, it actually looks pretty cool. Let me show you another angle. So check that out. You can see there is no interference whatsoever in any of this area right here. The bracket fits perfect. All I had to do was just kind of make the holes just a little bit bigger on the bracket just so it can slide in. But other than that, there is going to be, it is a slip in, let me show you. It is a slip in muffler. We would just have to kind of pinch that. But I have these clamps here that I plan to use. I don't know how nice that's gonna look. And I might have to make a little slit in the muffler to kind of get it to compress a little bit. But I'm gonna try to compress it just like that and see what happens. I think the metal is pretty thin and it might actually let me do that. But man, look at these mufflers. For $120, dang, you can't go wrong with that. Look at that. I mean, honestly, I don't even know what to say. A lot of the times you buy something that's inexpensive thinking that it's going to be like a disposable thing that is not going to last, and it might be so. These mufflers might not last forever, but for $120, the fitment and the quality of them is actually not that bad. Wow, it says Thai Exhaust Pipe Parts Ltd. The part number is TIS 341-2543. Wow, they're not sponsoring me or anything like that, but for $120, this is actually a really good product, and I'm happy with it. I am honestly stoked right now because that means I was thinking we were gonna have to bash some stuff in to get it to fit, and we were probably gonna take longer to do that. That's why I was filming this video, because I wanted to maybe show you how I adapted them to this bike to get them to work, thinking that maybe they weren't gonna fit, there was gonna be issues in the fitment, but honestly, they look awesome. Now I'm actually excited to actually hear how they sound. So yeah, So let me install the bracket, and I think on the next video, we'll actually get this bike really close to being finished. And I'm really excited about that, but man, just look at that. That looks really cool. All right, so as you can see, the muffler is installed. It's just a slip-on type of muffler, so we should be okay. When I looked inside, it looks it's pretty straight through, but it does have some baffling around this area. So I think the exhaust comes out here, it kind of spreads around, and then it goes out straight. But I'm going to use this this muffler clamp, I guess you can call it. It's not the best looking, but I think it'll be fine for this application. Again, the next owner that buys this bike, they can change it up and do their own thing. But I'm gonna just install it here. I'm gonna try it like this without having to actually make a slit in the muffler itself. Usually you would make a little slit here, maybe on the other side, so when you clamp it, you can kind of get more pressure. But I'm just gonna try it like this and see if the metal will be soft enough to actually compress on itself. So here we go. We're just gonna put a nut there, another one on this side, and it's pretty straightforward. We have a little bit of room here to get this in place. And maybe we can kind of move it to where you can't see the nuts that much. And maybe about right there. Keep tightening it up. Okay. Okay, I think we're hitting something. I think I'm gonna need to move that back a little bit. Yeah, it might work out better right here. I think it was hitting something. Let me see if it's not gonna, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. All right, so let me get, I think this is a 12 millimeter. Let me get, for situations like this where stuff gets a little tight, I have a little wrenches that I've cut in half just to kind of, for this purpose. Because this last bolt back here is kind of tough to get to. The foot peg is kind of in the way, so you really can't get to it, but that's fine. We can use this little wrenches. We don't want to apply so much torque anyways. We just want to try to get it to kind of crush there around. Honestly, I think we're there. Yeah, I think we're there. Wow. Dang, the metal actually crushed. I think that's perfect. That is awesome. This looks kind of funky, but I can come back with the grinder and cut these off, and maybe a Dremel to cut the bottom one, the back one, but you can't really see the one in the back. Let me show you how that looks from the bottom. But honestly, this looks awesome. All I need to do is go back and tighten up these header bolts, which I probably should have done before I tightened this up. Dang. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to repeat that process, but you get the idea. So basically you tighten this up, and then you tighten this one to make sure that everything is in place, and of course tighten that up as well. The bracket back here, and of course the nuts back here. So as you can see, the muffler clamp that I used works great. I think it's pinching the tube into the header pretty nicely. I don't think we'll have leaks. If we do, I hope it's through the exhaust. Anyways, but as you can see, it's kind of close here to the foot peg, the bolt. I could cut that off, but it's not really hurting the foot peg here. This one, just for, you know, visual effect or for presentation, I guess you can say, I can cut this one off and it'll be a lot cleaner. It'll look a lot cleaner from the outside, but the bracket itself, it's just a rough metal. It's just a cheapy bracket, but I think it does the job. I think I could have used like a hose clamp kind of style of clamp, but this will work just fine. It's cheap and inexpensive, and it'll do the trick. So yeah, I think that looks perfect. So thank you all so much for joining me this week. I promise next week I'll bring you more content with this bike. It's coming together. It's finally coming together. The biggest thing that I've been dreading is the wiring for the handlebars, but I just need to finish that, and I need to really focus on that. So I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. Other than that, the carburetors are already done, the float levels are adjusted, the side covers are done, the filters are done. I do need to source a battery for this bike, but that should be pretty simple. The wiring here is done. Oh, and I have the tail light that I actually took off of another bike that we're planning on using on this bike for now. And other than that, the bike is pretty much ready to go. So tune in next time, and I just want to say thank you to those of you that have decided to subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot to me that some of you have taken the time to actually say, I'm gonna watch these guys' videos every week. And that to me really means a lot. I'm trying my best to make sure I put out a video every week. I'm going to try to make it every Friday, but hopefully, yeah. So we all have lives and stuff like that, but I'm gonna try to film one every Friday and bring you along in that journey. But I just wanted to say thank you all so much for subscribing and for liking my videos, for commenting. I really appreciate that. It makes me really excited to make more videos and to, you know, do stuff like this. So thank you all so much for watching. The next video, I'll show you the process of putting everything back on the bike, and we'll see you next week. It's like a trumpet.